Picture a cloud of dust racing across the Anatolian plains, not a storm, but an army. Thousands of horsemen thunder forward, swords flashing, red turbans blazing in the sun. These are the Qizilbash, the redheads, fanatics, warriors, and revolutionaries. Their faith is their armor, their leader, Shah Ismail, is their living god. They ride not just for conquest, but to forge a new empire from the ruins of the old. The Qizilbash swept aside armies, their name whispered in fear by sultans and kings. They were more than soldiers. They were the engine of a revolution. From the wild Turkmen tribes, expert horsemen and archers, they brought together a fierce warrior culture and mystical faith. Their devotion was absolute. Their red turbans, a symbol of blood and belief. They followed a unique blend of Islam and Sufi mysticism, seeking a direct connection to the divine. Waiting for a leader, they found one in Ismail, a boy mystic, destined for the throne. Their story is not just about war, but about identity and transformation. The Qizilbash would build a new Persia, a new Iran, from the ashes. Their passion and violence shaped the religious and political map of the Middle East. They fought for their Shah with a devotion that bordered on worship. For a time, they believed he was invincible, and so did their enemies. Their red turbans became a symbol of their willingness to die for their cause. This is the story of how faith and fire built the foundations of modern Iran. The Qizilbash were a force of nature, and their legacy endures. Their charge changed history forever. The Qizilbash story begins in a Sufi lodge in Ardabil, where Sheikh Safi al-Din founded the Safavid order. For generations, the Safavid were spiritual guides, not rulers, teaching love, poetry, and the path to God. But over time, their message mixed with ambition, evolving into a radical form of Shia Islam. This new faith electrified the Turkmen tribes, offering them a divine mission and a sense of belonging. The Safavid promised justice and a new world order under a divinely appointed leader. Into this world was born Ismail, a descendant of Sheikh Safi, orphaned by violence and raised in hiding. Legends grew around him. Some believed he was the Mahdi, the messianic redeemer. When Ismail emerged at 12, he was more than a boy. He was a symbol of hope and prophecy. The tribes rallied to him, ready to fight and die for their living God. No longer just mystics, they became an army with a messianic cause. Ismail's charisma and conviction transformed scattered tribes into a single, unstoppable force. He was the leader they had awaited, channeling their faith into a campaign that would stun the world. The Qizilbash were born from prophecy and persecution. Their faith and unity would soon shake empires. Ismail's rise was the spark that ignited a revolution. The mountains of Ardabil had given birth to a legend. The world would soon feel its impact. Qizilbash, redhead, was meant as an insult, but the warriors wore it with pride. Their crimson taj with 12 folds for the 12 imams was a badge of faith and defiance. To wear it was to declare loyalty to Ismail, their spiritual and political master. The Qizilbash believed dying for their Shah meant paradise. This fanatic devotion made them fearsome in battle, fighting with reckless abandon. They weren't a formal army, but a confederation of Turkmen tribes: Rumlu, Shamlu, Ustajlu, Tekelu, Afshar, Qajar, each with its own chief and traditions. What united them was faith in Ismail and the Safavid cause. He balanced tribal rivalries, rewarding loyalty with land and titles. This tribal structure was both a strength and a future weakness. Early on, it allowed Ismail to raise a swift, expert cavalry. The tribes excelled at hit-and-run tactics, perfect for the wars that built the empire. But their loyalty was often to their own chiefs, not the state. This would later spark internal conflict and civil war. The Qizilbash were both the sword and the fault line of the Safavid Empire. Their unity was powerful, but fragile. In 1501, 14-year-old Ismail led his Qizilbash to a stunning victory over the Akkoyunlu at Sharur. He marched into Tabriz and declared himself Shah of Iran, his first act making Twelver Shia Islam the state religion, a radical move in a Sunni land. The Qizilbash enforced this new faith with ruthless zeal, transforming Iran's religious landscape. Cities fell, Sunni mosques were converted or destroyed, and resistance was crushed. The Qizilbash became the new aristocracy, rewarded with power and land. Their bond with the Shah was forged in battle and faith. They worshipped him, believing his presence made them invincible. Some even refused armor, trusting in his divine protection. For a decade, the Qizilbash were unstoppable, conquering east and west. Their crimson tide swept across Iran, expanding the empire's borders. But their absolute faith bred overconfidence. They believed Ismail could not be defeated. This belief would soon face its greatest test. The stage was set for a confrontation that would shake the empire. The Qizilbash's era of invincibility was about to end. Their faith had built an empire, but could it survive the coming storm? The answer would come at Chaldiran. The rise of the Safavids alarmed the Sunni Ottomans. In 1514, Sultan Selim I marched east to crush the heretics. The armies met at Chaldiran, Ottoman cannons and muskets against Qizilbash cavalry. The Qizilbash, disdainful of firearms, charged bravely but were decimated by gunfire. The myth of Ismail's invincibility shattered. He was wounded and forced to flee. The defeat was catastrophic. Qizilbash faith was shaken and their unity fractured. Ismail withdrew from command, never the same again. The Qizilbash chieftains, once worshipful, now saw their Shah as mortal. Their absolute loyalty began to crack. The defeat exposed the limits of faith against modern warfare. The era of divine kingship was over. The Qizilbash's power would never be the same. Chaldiran marked the end of their unchallenged dominance. The Safavid Empire survived, but its foundation was forever altered. The Qizilbash had to adapt, or fade. The world had changed. And so had they. The age of the red heads was entering a new, uncertain phase. Despite Chaldiran, the Safavid Empire endured. The Ottomans briefly took Tabriz, but couldn't hold it. The Qizilbash, though bloodied, remained the empire's backbone, their greatest legacy transforming Iran into the heartland of Shia Islam. This new religious identity set Iran apart from its Sunni neighbors, a distinction that endures. The Qizilbash enforced the Shah's will, defending borders and ruling as provincial governors. Their Turkic dialect dominated the court, creating tension with the Persian-speaking elite. Yet under Safavid rule, Iran flourished. Art, architecture, and philosophy thrived. The Qizilbash's military might enabled this golden age, but their tribal power threatened the Shah's authority. After Ismail's death, civil war erupted as Qizilbash factions vied for control. The very warriors who built the empire now threatened to destroy it. The Safavid state's survival depended on breaking their power. The Qizilbash's era of dominance was nearing its end. The Qizilbash story isn't just about men. Women played vital, often overlooked roles. In their nomadic society, women managed wealth, educated children, and kept the community strong. Some even fought in battle, while many more supported the armies, tending the wounded, setting up camps, and sustaining morale. In the Safavid court, women like Mahinbanu Sultanum wielded real political power, advising Shahs and mediating tribal disputes. The Shah's wives, too, could become pawns or players in high-stakes politics. When Ismail's wife was captured at Chaldiran, he refused to negotiate for her return, a stark reminder of the era's brutal priorities. Qizilbash women were resilient, influential, and essential to the community's survival. Their strength underpinned the redheads' rise and endurance. The world of the Qizilbash was shaped by both men and women. Their legacy is incomplete without both. The Qizilbash's tribal independence, once their strength, became the empire's greatest weakness. After Ismail, rival tribes plunged Iran into civil war, treating the Shah as a puppet. The state was nearly torn apart by their infighting. Shah Abbas the Great saw the danger. He needed an army loyal only to him. He created a new force, Ghulams, military slaves from the Caucasus, with no tribal ties. Armed with modern weapons, the Ghulams replaced the Qizilbash as the Shah's elite. Abbas executed or sidelined rebellious chieftains, ending Qizilbash dominance. Some tribes survived, but as servants of the state, not its masters. The Safavid Empire became a centralized monarchy. The wild fanatical horsemen who built the empire were tamed by the dynasty they created. The age of tribal power was over. The Qizilbash legacy still shapes Iran. Their forced conversion to Shia Islam created a unique religious identity, setting Iran apart for centuries. The borders they defended became modern Iran's frontiers. Their tribal structure lived on. Afshars and Qajars founded later dynasties. The Qizilbash story is a lesson in the power of belief and the dangers of fanaticism. Their passion built an empire, but nearly destroyed it. The transition from revolution to stable government was fraught with peril. The Redheads' charge echoes through history, a testament to faith, unity, and the costs of both. Their story warns and inspires even now. The legacy of the Qizilbash endures in every corner of Iran's identity.